Hey everybody, welcome to the Bass Shed Podcast. My name's Ryan Roberts. Alright, so today on the show, I'm talking to Stu Hamm. I was really excited to do this. I've known, obviously, of Stu Hamm since I've been playing. Right around the time I got my first bass, my brother was listening to the G3 Live record with Satriani, Eric Johnson, and Steve Vai. And, of course, I had to check out who the bass player on the record was, and it was Stu Hamm. And it was a little surreal talking to him today, and even, having been in contact with him over, I don't know, however long it's been. Maybe the last week or so, maybe a little under a week. About trying to line up a time and all that. Yeah, he's always a guy. He's kind of an icon, He's made a strong name for himself, and done a lot of things for the bass as a solo instrument. He'll talk about that. He'll talk about kind of how that all came about and what it was like. I don't know about what it was like, but he'll talk about meeting Vi back in Berkeley and getting into the two-handed tapping thing, and super down-to-earth guy, and it was really great to connect with him and just talk to him about the bass, right? That's what we're doing. We're talking about the bass, and it was great to talk to Stu Hamm. So here's my talk with Stu Hamm. All right, cool. We're up. We're going. Yeah. Let's go back to this. We were just talking. So when cats come to you, they come to learn the tapping, slapping. How'd you get into that? Because you're like, you were doing it before Wooten, the two-hand tapping thing.
Sure.
Where'd you come from?
Yeah, I remember Victor coming to see me do a bass clinic when he was like 10. The whole world changed. You figure the bass is like 70 years old.
Right.
I've been playing bass since 1973, which is 46 years.
Uh-huh.
Right. So back when I played, none of these techniques just existed, right? I remember seeing James Brown on public, back when I used to have to get off the couch and walk over to the TV and turn the channel and get one of the 3 channels. And his bass player was doing this weird thing where it sounded like a bass, sounded like percussion.
Okay.
I don't know what he's doing. So, there's a Gary go. So I drove to the closest music store that was about 30 minutes away in Nashua, New Hampshire, and took a bass off the wall and tried to pull the string, and the guy got me kicked out of the store. Thought I was trying to break the bass, And then I heard Chris Squire play harmonics in the beginning of The Fish, and I'm like, wow, no, I never heard anyone do that on bass before.
Right. And
then somebody gave me a Stanley Clarke record, and then the popping and the shaking of the harmonics and all that kind of stuff.
Records?
Oh, the first one was probably Journey to Love, or School Days, and then. November 8th, 1978, I saw Jocko, at the Orpheum Theater in Boston. And, growing up in the classical musical world, my father was a well-known musicologist. I played piano. So I never really thought of the bass as a solo instrument. Right, till we saw Jocko, and then he was like, oh, okay. I guess you could do that. So I took a lot of my classical piano repertoire, like Gershwin's Prelude in C, that's sort of like a blues in C sharp minor, and I could play the first part of it, and then I got to the middle section that modulates when, there's chords in the left hand and then descending dyads in the right hand, and I couldn't make it work. So I was playing with Steve Vai at the time at Berkeley. We met in 1978 at Berkeley, and we were doing covers of Eruption by Eddie Van Halen, hammer-ons and shit like that.
Yeah.
But if you slow down a hammer-on, you see that you're really getting one note to sound by tapping it down. Instead of usually, you take one note to fret the note and the other hand to pluck it.
Yeah.
Right. So, but if you just press down on it, then your other hand's free to do something else.
Sure.
Right. And so then I came up with the idea of then just trying to work out. Then I could hold down a C sharp and play this sort of descending chromatic pattern with my right hands. And then I just started working through my piano repertoire, like Prelude in C, some Debussy.
Nice.
So
did you get this from watching Vi do it? Watching Vi do Van Halen?
It was funny because it was in the air at that time, and the only cats that were really I mean, no one was really tapping the way I did as far as like laying down an ostinato and playing on top.
Right.
Victor Bailey was one of the first guys I saw sort of do something close to that.
Okay.
But then when I became aware of it and started to work on it, Stanley Jordan and Billy Sheehan were guys that tapped. And at that point I said, I'm not going to check them out.
Yeah.
Whereas I learned bass by copying every, Paul McCartney,
Sure.
Chris Squire, John Entwistle, like I could learn.
Yeah.
But then I tried to come up with my own shit. I said, hey, I'm not gonna listen to how they're doing it, so I could come up with my own fingerings. And now, later I don't care. I hired Billy for some tours just so I could steal his shit up close and personal, But no one did it, And then you think back now, and it's so funny. And then I heard Jeff Berlin and people playing chords and. Jocko playing,
Berlin was doing the chord melody stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. But I mean, the funny thing is like now, I was just in Korea, and I taught a high school class on solo electric bass. So it's like, for better or worse, there is such a genre. Of course, the problem is the guys that start there, that like the first thing they ever heard was me playing Foggy Mountain Breakdown, and never learned how to play, Killer Joe.
Yeah.
Right, don't know how to play a walking bass line. Right. So, but then you think about it. But now, if a bass player's like 16, he's got to learn. He's got to know at least a little bit of slap technique, how to tap, how to play chords, how to solo and bebop, how to play some harmonics. And no one played that way when I was, I'm getting older, but it wasn't that long ago.
Sure.
One generation ago. That's how much it changed.
Yeah, the whole evolution of the bass is rapid.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So you're getting into that at Berkeley. You're getting into the tapping, and then you go on, like, your first, for lack of a better term, power trio records were with Vi, right? And then you went into Kimbali and Satriani.
Right. Well, in Berkeley, I recorded Steve's audition tapes for Zappa.
Okay.
And then I was living in Germany for a while, and then went out to L.A. and auditioned for Zappa for a couple of days. And I probably could have had the gig. I recorded for 2 days, but then I left because I had tickets to see Miles Davis at the Kicks Disco in Boston with Marcus Miller and Mike Stern. I was playing with Michael Gibbs' big band. At the time he does some arranging for Miles, so I sat with him. And Cicely Tyson was married to Miles at the time, and so I couldn't pass that up. Right. Bad career mistake. I should have stayed in LA taking the Zappa gig. And
what year was this?
Exactly. 81. I'm saying 81. And then
when did Zappa pass?
I don't know.
I forgot. I know. I have some friends that are like tight with the family.
I was never Zappa. If I had been a Zappa fan, I would have stick and gotten around the gig.
Sure.
But I was never. I thought he was a awful guitar player.
Okay.
And my father was a good poker playing friend of John Cage's, so I grew up on like a bunch of. 8-tonal, Schoenberg 12-tonal stuff,
the progressive 20th
so
century.
I never really bought his classical stuff, and I liked his early funny stuff. But I know it's sacrilege to those people that think he's a genius. But I never got it. If I'd been more of a fan, I obviously would have stayed and gotten the gig. So who knows? It's just in the past. And then I eventually moved out to California in 84, 83 to do the album Flexible with Steve. And then through that, I started doing solo bass gigs, and I met this guy, Cliff Coltreri, at Relativity Records, who had signed Steve. And they came to see me do some solo gigs at my place in Santa Monica.
Nice.
And gave me like a $3,000 budget to do my first record. And I quickly ran out of money. So I had a song called Flow My Tears that I'd written the melody to be played by a muted trumpet, like Miles Davis thing. So the drummer, Mike Barsamano, was playing with... you're playing with who's the trumpet player that does all the film scores? My brain's mush today.
Trumpet player that does it.
Great. Anyway, we'll look up his name. And so he agreed to play on the record, but he wanted $50 to record at his studio and pay his engineer.
Okay.
And I couldn't come up with the $50.
Yeah.
Right. I was just broke.
Sure.
It's not like I didn't have $50 in my recording budget to allocate for a secondary.
Right.
Mark Isham, great trumpet player. So I went to the guys at Relativity and I said, man, I don't know what to do. I ain't got no money and I need like 2 solos. And they said, well, we just signed this new guitar player, Joe Satriani, and why don't you play on his record and we'll have him play on your record. So I went up to San Francisco. I was originally going to put a fretless bass track on his song "Always With You, Always With Me."
Okay.
But it took a little longer than we thought for him to play. I mean, my first track on my first record had Alan Holdsworth and Joe Satriani on guitar. Where are you going to go from there? So that's how I met Joe. We played together for years, and then had the trio with Guaraldi, and I've played with so many great guitar players.
Yeah,
it's been great.
That is cool. I remember growing up, my brother, who's a guitar player, had a copy of G3 Live, and that's when I kind of learned to you.
Right.
Summer Song?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the tune off that record I was into.
Cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't listened to that. I've gone back and checked it out since you and I have been talking, for my own nostalgia.
The best thing I guess I'm known for is there's a great live record called Live in San Francisco.
Satriani record,
yeah,
right?
Satriani record, yeah. And we did a song called Love Thing that went into a bass solo that a lot of people know about. It's pretty good.
Now, you were the first artist to have a signature bass for Fender.
This is correct.
The Urge.
This is correct.
Are you still with Fender?
I'm not.
Who are you with now?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm playing my Warwicks.
Okay.
I've got this guy Marcus Spangler, who's the main designer at Warwick, is just like as big a wood freak as I'm a bass freak.
Nice.
So we've tried some crazy shit. Not all of it worked, but he's got like 3 basses that he built me that I love to play. I still play my Fenders.
Okay.
And I was at Warwick briefly. Washburn. And we designed this great acoustic bass that has an intonatable and adjustable bridge.
Oh, wow.
That no acoustics do. So without that, if I can't intonate it and get the string height individually right, then I couldn't really play my chords on it. So we realized why no one had done it is because you have to put a block on the body to support the bridge. Mm-hmm. But so it kind of acoustically, it's not as loud as like a regular acoustic bass.
Sure, it's going to take up some of the vibration at the top.
Right, but the piezo's in them, man, they just sound great. They're wonderful basses, right? They're wonderful
Very
basses.
Cool.
Yeah. So, I played Kubicki basses first.
Kubicki?
Kubickis.
I don't even know.
The Kubickis were great. They were headless, made by Michael Kubicki, Phil Kubicki, and John Taylor from... I have no brain today. That pop band played them, and you must remember they had a headstock that was actually a working headstock because they were strung down here, but you could capo it off at an E. As you flipped it up, it actually went down to an open D,
like an extension on an upright,
on an upright bass, yeah. So you could flip it and play an open D, but finger everything the same way, and fret an E flat. Now, of course, and it was a short scale bass. So all the songs that I wrote on that, now I play on a full scale bass.
Yeah.
Number one, I've got to get a hip shot and play octaves like minor sevenths, and I can't. I can't make the reach that I on a 32-inch bass that I do on a 34 now.
Okay. Was your Fender signature a 34?
The original
scale?
was a 32.
32.
And then I look really huge when I play a short scale bass. And for a marketing standpoint too, when we re-released it, we went for the full scale.
Okay.
And they're great basses,
Yeah.
And I was with them for like 25 years.
It's full jazz pickup situation, like front neck and bridge jazz pickups with a P in the middle.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It was supposed to be the best of the old and best of the new with Fender, right?
Okay.
Because I had my first EMGs put in my Fender in like 1980. Yeah. And I know Rob Turner really well from EMG. So I think it was the first Fender bass with active electronics with 24 frets.
Yeah.
Full 2 octaves. And, went back to the matching headstock look. Mm-hmm. And, shorter scale, just sort of like a marketing thing, because I was used to playing shorter scale basses.
Okay.
And, one was made in Mexico, one was made of cheap wood Mexico, and the U.S. version. Great basses, great.
Yeah.
And the reason what happened, so when I played the Kubickis were great. They had a laminated neck and was really instrumental, I think, in that sound they got in tapping.
Okay.
But, if you're going into a studio or a session, you got to have a J or a P sound.
Yeah.
Right. So Satriani, bless his heart, who has a pretty Neanderthalic view of bass, because if you listen to his music, he's playing a lot of the bass lines, mm-hmm. right? Because usually it's just eighth notes. Double
Right. Kind of stay out of the way. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff going on.
Absolutely, that's the gig. It's great, but it's just a lot of doubling with the guitar player, which is and it's like you wouldn't bring an alembic, to a Gwen Stefani session.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not going to fit the track. So Joe never really liked the sound of that for the more rock stuff. So then I had a P bass pickup put in between the two pickups on one of my Kubickis, and then Kubicki got interested in buying Fender. Got interested in buying Kubicki. I helped them convince them to take over the Kubicki thing, and then that way we decided to.
Did Fender buy out Kubicki?
Kubicki, they did.
Okay.
And here, I'll show you a picture of it. And then they, at that point, we decided to design a bass was kind of the best of the old and the best of the new, and that's how the Fender Urge came around.
Nice.
And there's number 45 of the Kubickis with the headstock.
Oh yeah, okay.
And as you slide down, you see the bodies. I'm sure you'll
right.
If you want to scan up it.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, they were great. Really tweaky, really trebly.
I remember those until about right around 99, 2000. Is that when Fender absorbed them?
Fender absorbed them earlier than that, and then
I remember seeing them around a lot.
They just disappeared. Again, John Taylor from Duran Duran played one.
Okay.
And what's his name from Kenny G's band? The great singer too. We know his name.
We'll come back to that.
No,
I don't know.
Holy cow. Not Tao. What is his name anyway? Great bass player. He popularized it too. But I was best known for playing him. And great basses, but not one you would take to a session. I remember actually playing with. I did a tour with a band called David and David, a pop band.
Okay.
And then I did the Arsenio Hall show with David Bierwald, and I was warming up, and the soundman said to my cans, he goes, "Hey, bass player, that sounds really cool. Did you bring a bass?"
Who's the bass player on Arsenio's show?
It was probably John B. Williams at the time, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the idea also with the Fender Urge, was to be able to get like a tweaky electronic EMG modern sound, but it also had passive pickups.
Yeah.
And active. So if you want to take it still, you want to emulate a P or a J bass sound.
And get the traditional.
Yeah, because I love all basses and permutations and weird stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really quite get the ironing board thing on top yet. And that's all just my personal tastes. But the thing is Leo Fender just sort of got it right.
Yeah.
And after that, everything is just sort of like cool toys.
Yeah. The single cut thing, I remember visually, I think Federa does it great aesthetically.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of other companies where just like.
But what's it for? Is it for the balance or what is it?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the function is. Maybe just something new.
I mean, forget about playing the octaves like Larry Graham, where you put your thumb.
Right.
That's not going to happen anymore.
No.
So.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know if there is a reason to it.
Gotta be. I think it's balance, and I'll ask Victor. I'm doing his camp this year, so
okay.
I'll get.
When's his camp?
The one I'm doing, I think, is in September. He's got like 5 or 6 of them a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Where at? What part of the nation?
He's got a place in Tennessee called Wooten Woods.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I went to this first place, and then he bought, I don't know how many hundreds of acres it is, but he's got a great, beautiful.
I bet.
Incredible. Yeah. I mean, he's what incredible talent.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Generational.
Like I started off wanting to talk to you about your lessons because you were really self-aware before I think we turned the mics on. You were really self-aware about teaching what you do with the tapping and all that, but then also talking about having to just play the bass and work and those skills. What's your teaching approach when it comes to that? Doing the really solo bass thing, but then also the things you need to do to actually get a gig.
It depends. It depends where the guys are at. Like I don't know if you ever taught high school kids, but if it's one of those situations where you're just a babysitter for half an hour a week and it's the only time the guy's ever going to practice, then I'm just going to pull out the book and put on the metronome and make them work and be a hard ass.
Yeah.
Right. For me, when I take lessons, hopefully someone can just give me an idea or concept to work on.
Sure.
That'll last me 6 weeks, 2 months. To come
then you
back
can go investigate.
Right. I'd say the analogy would be like a lot of what I do is people hire me to, record on their demos or albums at home, at my home studio. And, of course, a lot of them are wannabe Satriani or Vi fans.
Yeah.
At various levels of musicality and professionalism. And they always send me these tracks and they say, hey, man, I really want you to, do your thing, like really be Stu on this, which I guess means tap and slap and play a bunch of bullshit.
Okay.
So generally what I'll do is I could do that. And then considering that, it just doesn't sound too mean because, some of them have been really, really good. But sometimes the guys don't really know what they're doing and they're just trying to show off. And one of the things that I have actually being a bass player, being old enough to have learned the tradition of how to create a bass line that unifies everything.
Sure.
So I'll do them two versions. One where I'm, wiggly,
yeah,
doubling guitar line, figuring out the drum fills and doing a tap thing to it. Or I just play a bass line that makes everything else sound good.
Sure.
And they generally use that one. So
right.
So it's the same thing. The thing with teaching something like tapping is there's a huge just physical coordination buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
Like to get your pinky done. It's like, I tell you guys, first 15 or 16 years are going to be tough, but, after that, it should start to sink in. You should be able to get it. So, so much of learning can be, you can't teach anybody anything. You can show them what they need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So, point you in the right direction, make it fun.
Right.
So it's not just exercise. I'm the only guy in the world that loves to just sit there and play scales and doesn't have to be fun.
Yeah, I used to geek out on that stuff. And how else can what's a new fingering pattern I can come up with?
I love that. But, you got to make, temperate than just, scales in other directions to something that sounds cool. It's fun. And also that will inspire them to come up with their own things using that technique.
Right.
But what I have to tell them, there's no difference between, practice, patience, and the passage of time.
Sure.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. There's I've talked to other bass players. I don't know about on here yet, but just in life, and we've talked about that. There's no magic recipe.
No.
Either whether it's on the instrument, something you're trying to work out on the instrument, or in your overall career, and how do you get from point A to point B?
Everyone's got their own path.
Yeah, and that's that aspect can be daunting because when you're young, you don't know that yet. And you have to figure all that out. That you have to figure. Part of it is that figuring out who you are on the bass and your own path to get there.
Ooh, I just got some good news.
What's that?
Oh man, I just got Gergo Borlai to agree to some tours. I just got a reply.
So your tour?
Yeah. Dear Gergo, period. I love you, period. You have made me a very, very happy bass player, dude. Thanks so much. Give me a call later, dude. I got you down. I'm so fucking excited, dude. We're going to have a great time, period. Call me when you can. Or you're getting all this right.
Yeah. We're good.
Dude, I'm so excited. Call me when you can, and let's talk about guitar players for the U.S. tour. I think I have someone in mind for the EU, period. But my speech to text didn't work.
Man, mine always messes up. Now let's go. Who are you thinking? Who are you thinking for the tour?
It's such a it's so difficult.
This is your trio. Like I have no idea what the gig is.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a new record. I'm gonna Indiegogo fund it. Do a new record. Do a new cycle. The last record I did, was a total solo bass record. In fact, I got one out in the car. Be happy to give you a call. The Diary of Patrick Xavier.
Okay. That
was real personal about this sort of Chautauqua soul searching. It's not the depressing divorce album. It's really not. It really isn't. Was this the dude that like went there and had like this metaphysical spiritual experience? Found a diary, and that's
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yeah, it's good. So it's every song, but the thing is like all the songs that I write are about something.
Right.
And about a book I read, or an experience I had, or a person I met, or a book I read, or a meal I had. And no one asks me that. They just say, "Man, what kind of strings do you use?
Yeah,
or do you use your double thumb technique?" And I'm like, "Oh, God, that's so fucking boring." So this record, I put the cart before the horse, and had a great, got enough money from the funding campaign to hire a good graphic artist, to get an editor. So every song has like a story written about it, about what the song's about.
That's cool.
What it relates to. There's a photo about where I wrote it.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense to read that and then listen to the music, and hopefully it makes a little more sense.
Do you think some of that gets lost in the download world because we can't sit there and look through liner notes now?
You can download liner notes. A lot of like Deutsche Grammophon, which is most of the stuff that I buy now. You can, if you buy a record digitally, you can download.
I get like download booklets and
but it's not the same. I mean,
I don't
the younger generation, my daughter and you guys, can assimilate information, but I think there's studies where you learn more if you're holding it.
Yeah.
And I'm old enough where I absorb so much better holding a newspaper, reading it, than looking at the LA Times on a screen.
right, on a tablet or some kind of device.
How much I can absorb. So the next record is probably going to be more prog. I've never done a prog rock record.
Okay.
Right. So probably use Garrigo and that's a great guitar player named Randy McStein.
Okay.
Who used on a tour from New York. The problem is that it just ain't getting any easier to make a living as a bass player.
Nope.
Right. And like when I was the head of the bass department at MI for a number of years, and I know Steve Bailey, the head of the bass department at Berkeley, and
is he still over at Berkeley?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But I don't mean to go all Alan Holdsworth and depressing or anything, but it's just changing. Like I don't know.
I was supposed to be at his last gig, not playing it, but my friend was his piano player for those last couple dates, and it was in San Diego, I think.
Right.
And my piano player friend hit me up because we just did a trio gig. He's like, "Dude, you want to come down?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, give me a reason to get out of LA for the weekend. Like, I'd love to see that band live."
Right.
Sure. And then for some reason I didn't, and then damn, then he passes.
But it's just it's just so I don't know how you can go to a music school and just be a bass major. You can't. Right. You got to learn social media. You got to learn marketing. You got to learn Pro Tools. You got to take a course in.
You really just get
marketing,
a job in business management.
Yeah,
and then go take lessons.
Yeah,
That's
I mean even cats like Vinny and the head studio cats. Man, that just sort of the way that we all made a living is just sort of disappearing with everyone doing it at home and samples.
Yeah,
and downloading. I mean, it's insane to me how, at least in Germany, Gamma, which is their sort of BMI, if you go there and you go to YouTube and you type in, Prince Purple Rain, blocked, can't see it.
Really?
Great, they can do it. So why? The second I put out a record, some guy, takes a picture of the album cover, puts it up on YouTube, and you can just type in Stu Hamm, Diary of Patrick Xavier, blam, you get it for free. Unless I want to spend all my time, So I don't want to get in a rant, but I don't know why BMI and ASCAP can't. It's blatant copyright laws. So it's ridiculously hard for a musician to make money off what they create. Yeah, the reason I don't mind ripping movies is because all the actors and grips and sound man, they've been paid in advance.
Right.
Some guys, the director, maybe get a little bit off the end, but they're paid. Mm-hmm. Right. The only reason I get paid is dudes who give me cash.
Right.
And it's older dudes that'll give me $20 after a concert to have me sign in and take a selfie and stuff like that. And then download it. But it's just realistically, it's just harder to control and to make money off product where it's so easily pirated.
How have you? What is your path to deal with this internet culture of musicianship?
Man, just try to stay fresh and keep up at it and do everything myself.
Yeah, and
try to eliminate the middleman, because you either do it yourself or you pay someone to do it poorly.
Right.
But then again, I blank against. Boy, I spend too many hours a day just on the computer, but it's all good, man. I love what I do, and I'm blessed.
Sure.
But it's the other thing about touring too. I mean, it's just and for instrumental jazz rock fusion.
Yeah, it's a tight niche.
It is, and there are so many more guitar players. I know guitar players of who I don't think are that spectacular, that are even semi-professional, but they just have hundreds of thousands of followers and can sell records just because they're guitar players.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Victor can tour, and even Hadrian and those guys, but it ain't 1,500 people coming to see it, right? So the reality is my fans, a lot of them being Vine Satriani fans, I've got to have like a named guitar player in the band. Right. They're dudes I would love to take out. But realistically, I got to have a guy who's going to help me sell 50 or 60 tickets.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, that's just the reality, right?
Yeah. So like every tour has to be kind of a bit of a super group situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, then that sucks because now you have to coordinate with their schedules and their touring. Do you
Believe
trade
me,
tours a lot with them? Like, all right, I'll do yours.
It's easier for a
We
bass
just
player
stagger
because
'em?
it's easier to be a bass player. But no, I mean, I'm not going to give the list now. But of all the people I've asked, and they're like, well, because you just well, I mean, I've been playing with Alex Skolnick a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who was in the Testament, and then he was with my band in like 1990, and then he moved to New York and went to the New School and started studying jazz. He's like my fucking favorite. Because he and he has his own trio, the Alex Skolnick trio of New York guys.
Yeah, I've checked him out a lot.
But he can play all the fusion. He's into it. He's one of the smartest guys I know, inquisitive, just brilliant. But he can also bring it rock. In a way that some of the fusion guys can't, right? Everyone does something different, but I love playing with Alex. But the reality is he's touring with Testament. He's got Metal Allegiance, and then he's going to be touring Europe, and then the U.S. every year with Alex Skolnick Trio, and it's the same clubs. And he can't play in February with the Alex Skolnick Trio at Reggie's in Chicago, and then with July as the lead of the Stu Hamm band,
right?
Because he's just been there. It's right.
Yeah.
So it's the same with, and all the guitar players are like, well, dude, I'd love to, but I'm sort of saving my name for my card for when I go with my band.
Saving the juice for my gig.
So we're figuring it out. It's a work in progress. Man.
Yeah. So you're going to Europe on this tour?
This is all next year, man. This year I just got some little things I'm doing. I'm just kind of taking care of some shit in my life.
Nice.
And relaxing and just changing my attitudes about certain things and trying to enjoy and not be in charge. And so I'm already planning towards next year. So the U.S. tour will be after NAMM, and then we go to Europe. And, every Tuesday before NAMM, I play the Baked Potato with an all-star band.
Okay. Is that like the ongoing residency you've had for...
Yeah. 1 year I had Mohini there as a guest star bass. Last year I had Tina Guo on Guo. She was great, man. Yeah. She was wonderful. So Garrigo just confirmed, so he's going to be in drums. We'll see who we find. I always find it helps to have an attractive young female musician in the band. So
anywhere
we're gonna do that.
Yeah.
So it's also good. So I've just been sort of writing, and I listen to a lot of really mellow music, man, like postmodernist, minimalist, Arvo Part, and stuff like that. Really, Max Richter. But I want to step away from that and do just a little more rock and proggy record and kick ass with Garrigo. So I'm so excited.
So you get a lot of inspiration from books and authors.
Yeah.
What else besides just music or like sonically what you're hearing?
Right.
Besides literary input, what are some influences in your writing process?
Just traveling, seeing people, meeting people and seeing different parts of the world and how people react. And I'm just blessed to be able to travel so much and been to so many different places,
Yeah. Do you internalize it? Do you keep a little road journal?
I definitely
documents?
write. I know I'm always writing.
Yeah.
It helps to go back and read what you've written. A couple days later, a week later, a month later, a year later.
I don't do that. Like I write as like a cathartic exercise to get it out.
Then
I purposely don't touch it and don't revisit it. And it's like it's just a dump.
It's really good to revisit it.
Really?
It's
I don't
really
know
good.
I don't know how I feel about some of that.
No, it's pretentious. Like for the Diary of Patrick Xavier. Now when I read the booklet, it sounds a bit pretentious.
Yeah.
But I totally believed it in the time.
Okay.
So maybe I could have had a little more editing in it. But hey, man, it's a moment. I mean, it's the other thing that I really liked about that record was there's a great Pat Metheny record called One Quiet Evening, right? And it's a solo guitar record. And it's just and there's fret buzz. I swear there's one point where he's playing and the E string's out, so he hits a harmonic and he tunes it, and then he does it again to make it part of the song, right? So I've spent, my first time I was in the studio was recording, the Attitude song on a 4-track with Steve Vai.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in his ears. We're punching in for 16th notes, and
there's
no Pro Tools. There's no like, okay, we'll move it back, or
There's no nudging.
Play this shit.
Yeah.
It's not like he had a TC Electronics harmonizer. If he wanted to double it or harmonize it in 8 voices, he had to physically play
them all, right?
Right. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Right. But so the bad part was that then I sort of thought that being in the studio was an exercise in not making a mistake.
Yeah.
And being in the studio with him and Joe too, which is pretty exacting, precise music.
Sure.
Right. Prepared me for that. And it took me a long time to get over that. And the moment that happened was we were doing one of the Guaraldi Smith records, and it was the end of the day, and Steve said, hey, we're all going to do solo pieces. Do you have anything? We're just sitting around. Bob Biles, the engineer, and, it's late at night. Steve's studio, and I said, yeah, I'm working on a new piece. And they said, well, let's hear it. So I said, okay. I played it, and then he said, great, we're done. And I said, what do you mean? And he says, well, Bob hit record, and we recorded it. It was perfect. You're done. I said, let me hear it back. I'm like, fuck, man, the G string's flat.
Yeah.
I missed this thing. I didn't play the one I wanted. There's too much fret noise. Let me change the strings, intonate it. Now let me play it.
Sure.
I sat to play it, and it sucked. I sat there trying to play it correctly.
Right. Did it come across too heady and like you were?
It was just awful.
Yeah.
It wasn't music, right? So mistakes are the good parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to capture. I'm pretty sloppy player anyway.
Okay.
I have good ideas, but I'm sloppy anyway. And so I listen to so much Glenn Gould and piano players.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm trying to go from this end of the neck and use open strings to go down. There's physically a sound of your hand moving in the strings.
Sure.
And I've tried and spent hours and way too much money trying to duck those points or fly in different noise so you don't hear it. But then hearing that Matheny record is like, that's just the way it sounds when a guy plays guitar. The strings squeak, your hand moves. That's it. So I finally learned to let go.
Yeah.
And make music,
Right.
So I'm pretty.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie Hayden is a guy like that for me. He'll make the imperfection work.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes every note count all the time, and like even those things.
Yeah.
That's all part of the experience.
Well, Miles proved that you can play, the wrong chord tone, or as long as you phrase it correctly and believe in it.
Yeah.
Where other dudes, I know some dudes that are like, we were talking about the classical and jazz guys.
Yeah.
This classical guy trying to play jazz, that every time he would play a flat nine, it would just sound so square.
Right.
Just because it was just like, oh, I'm playing the blue note now.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it's ba-da-ba-ba-doo-boo. It just wasn't.
Right, there's no grease in it.
No, there's none.
Right.
No, none.
Anything you want to plug? You want to talk about?
What am I doing, man? I'm in town for a while, so you can, my email is stuarthammbass@gmail.com, STUARTHAMM. So when I am in town, like I said, I teach private lessons at the Paramount Academy of Music, which is on Ventura and Tonga, right down the road here. And I do Skype lessons, pretty affordable.
Nice.
And if you're a rich lawyer and you want to pay me a whole lot of money to come to your house, I will charge you a whole bunch of money to do that.
Yeah.
Happily take your money.
Yeah.
I do that sometimes when I especially in Germany, in France, I do socialist marketing on my CDs. Right,
What's
which is
that?
what at the end of the gig, like if I'm in a music store, I say, all right, so the suggested price is like €15 for a CD.
Okay.
But if you're a student at the school and you can muster together 7 or €8 and you really want to hear it, I'll take your €7 or €8.
Yeah.
If you're a lawyer,
Right.
that buys a new fedora every year to match your new Porsche in the same pink color
for your new wife every year.
Yeah, and you want to and $100 means nothing to you, and you want to give me $100, I'll take it.
Sure.
So and I end up usually doing pretty well there.
Right.
So it's all good to me, man.
Do you do a lot of take two on that? Do you do most of your touring in Europe, or do you do a lot of it in the States as well?
We try to do it in the States. It's a harder market in the States. There still are places in Europe where you can play. And just sort of my agents there. So, like I said, we'll be going around starting after the NAMP show, and then the States. And I'm doing a tour with this really strange sort of punky band called Ape Shifter.
Okay.
Later in the year, just to play.
Yeah.
And man, there's some other stuff in the works, and some odd stuff you wouldn't think about doing. Just playing bass, man. Yeah, I'm getting better, which is good. I'm actually having a lesson with David. Al Morse coming over to my house. I've got this Warwick Triumph, and I don't even know if I'm holding the damn thing right.
Okay.
Because it's got it's bodiless, but it's got one of these weird
things to keep the...
Yeah, right. But you can move it any way you want. So I just want him to say, and I know there's no right way, but just, if it's comfortable for you, how much, should I tilt the neck all the way this way, or... because some guys play it like
I don't know if he's going to tell you the same thing, but what I tell my students, keep this line straight. So keep your don't have your wrist break.
Right.
So as long as that from your elbow to
but as far as like if I'm sitting here playing,
he's got a better classical gig than me though.
If I tilt the bass so it's like sort of leaning this way at me, rather than the neck being, the same line as my body.
Yeah.
It's easier to get to. Or is that the way you're supposed to play? You don't want it curving towards you, leaning in.
Right. Like I tell students you don't want the bout like leaning up against you, so that back seam kind of in line with your sternum.
Well, of course, this has no body.
Right. That's. I had one electric upright, the Steinberger, the one that Tony Levin, was playing all the time, but with the neck strap.
Not an NSD or an actual Steinberger.
No, it was an NSD.
Right.
Did they get bought out or couple with somebody?
Right.
I don't know what happened there, but I had one of those, and when I got it, there was like a tripod stand like this, like a snare stand or something that you screw into the back, and then you could lock the angle on it all. And it worked great for playing musicals.
Right.
Because all the space in the pit. Then they came out with this end pin situation with the body gap. And this was right around the time where I was really getting into acoustic upright. This isn't that.
Right. Yeah,
it's not the feel of it. That means I'm not going to generate sound the same way. It's
that's tough, man. One of my very best friends, John Mader, who I've written a bunch of songs for, and has been on just about all my records, and did I had this band called B Times 3 with myself and Jeff Berlin and Billy Sheehan.
Okay.
Right. So I had to find a guy who could play my music, who could play up tempo, grooving high at 240 with Berlin, and play Shy Boy.
Right.
So he was the guy. But he's been doing Hamilton for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I went and I sat in the pit.
The road show?
Well, he did up in San Francisco and then in L.A. Now he's back in San Francisco and L.A.
Okay.
He did the 3 weeks in Puerto Rico with Lin-Manuel. I mean, the producers love him, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a prepared dude, man, and a great, great drummer. But I sat in the pit and Trey Henry was playing bass. Trey.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. But what a hard gig. I mean, I sort of at one point John was saying, there's a sniff. It could probably got me auditioned, but man, I don't play upright well enough to bow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to embarrass anybody by walking in there.
Sure.
And he had like 3 different electrics. Yeah, the upright, the bow, the keyboards, bass lines, all the different sounds. I mean, hard work, man. You got the director in your ear, and the others got their own mix, and man, that's some hard work, dude.
That's a lot of gear.
That's a lot of well, it's a good gig.
Yeah, it's a great gig. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Cool, man. You good? Buddy. Anything else you want to talk about?
Man, that's it. Just peace, love, and not drugs. Peace, love. And, check out. Definitely go to, if you go to Indiegogo.com, you can still buy.
Is your campaign up?
The old campaign is up from The Diary of Patrick Xavier, and you can still order CDs. Signed CDs and like a combo of I think it's like $100. You get a signed CD and a 1-hour Skype lesson.
Nice.
So and then they're available at CD Baby 2. And again, you can just email me at stuarthambass@gmail.com. And that's it, man. I still love playing bass.
Yeah.
And I've been working with the guys from TC Electronics.
Sweet.
Did a couple tone prints with them at NAMM, and I've been working with their looper.
Okay,
which is pretty cool. So I'm actually.
Do you incorporate a lot of that?
I don't, man. For years, I've been the guy where I hated that.
How come? I know a lot of guys do, but then I know guys that love it.
Because for me, I mean, the sound is in your fingers, and when I've got this new amp up, a Mark bass. I got a Stu Hamm amp, right? So I got my new Mark bass amp that I designed. Set it flat, great speaker, brand new DHS strings, brand new, really expensive Wire World cable. That sounds great. And the more you put it through anything, it dilutes the sound.
Sure.
It takes so many those pedals add compression. They don't tell you about it, and cut the low mids, which is sort of the heart of my sound, right?
Sure.
But the TC stuff is really a true bypass, and I found that it can accentuate the tone and not create it.
Okay.
Because if you're trying to use an amp or a bass or string to create a tone, you're fooling yourself. The tone is in your fingers. Right.
Completely agree.
So if you can use it to enhance it. So I'm messing around with it.
Okay.
And I'm enjoying it. Their looper's pretty instinctive to use. And I did come up with this great
So, man, but you can get all this stuff happening. You do like 2-hand tapping, loop it.
I know.
I can only imagine how many tracks deep you can get.
But the thing is, it's just like Uprighter people said. Why don't you play stick, man? It's like I don't have enough hours in the day, man.
Oh, sure.
I wouldn't go out and loop live unless. I would spend years and years and years at it because, there's guys like Victor and dudes that have been doing it forever. Michael Mannering.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to embarrass myself,
Right. Was he? What was his time at Berklee in relation to yours? Was he around your time?
Same time? Yeah, I didn't really know, but I just love the way he plays. I mean, if I was rich, I would hire Michael Mannering to play for me every morning as I woke up. Wouldn't that be the best
personal
way to
alarm
wake
clock?
up? Yeah, just wake up and hear him playing with that EBO thing, and stuff like that. So, but I had for the flashback for the I had when you buy them, you can download these tone prints, right? So I created for the flashback delay. What I use, I have it's a delay that almost acts as a reverb because there's so many of them. But they are so low that it's a really cool effect.
Okay.
Right. So I've been using that, and they just sent me a couple more pedals. So actually, that's what I'm doing today is going home and just plugging them in and seeing what works.
Yeah.
And just goofing around.
Nice.
And especially doing a prog rock record, I think I'm more ready to. Chris Squire used a bunch of different sounds like on the Silent Wings of Freedom, and So again, hopefully I'll keep getting better and trying different things, or else I'll just get a job at the post office.
Right.
Well,
so yeah, let me know if they're hiring. I might. Yeah.
I'll see you there, dude.
All right, Stu. Thanks for coming in, man.
Hey, man. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. That was Stu Hamm. I love that he did voice text on the mic about his tour. I thought that was pretty funny. He's a super great guy to connect with, down to earth. Yeah, and just all the humanity of it. Like, he knows kind of what he's known for, but he also knows that that's a very specific thing, and that that's unique, and he's very self-aware about it all, and I liked that. I like that he's very self-aware about it all, and he's just happy to continue learning and playing the bass, and still on the journey we're all on. That's inspiring to me. That's really inspiring. So that's Stu's story. I'm sticking to it. I keep using that sign off, and I don't know if I'm gonna continue. It happened the first episode when the dove just kind of came out of my mouth. And then I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, maybe this should just be the sign off. Maybe I'll do this. I don't know. You got suggestions? Anybody want to send me suggestions for a good sign off? Email me, Ryan@thebasshed.com. This isn't a way to, up my engagement. This is a way to get a good sign off. I want a good sign off on the podcast. I want something that's kind of like, yeah, there it is. That's the little thing that keeps you thinking, a little quirky. It's something that's, a little like a signature on a painting or something. I don't know if I found it yet, but until I find something else, I'm going to use that one. So that's what it is. Stu's story. I'm sticking to it. Thanks for listening, folks, and I'll catch you on the next one.